Elizabeth, welcome back to my beginning bobbin lace series, Mastering the Basics. Last time we learned torsion ground, so if you haven't seen that, make sure and go check that out first. With our understanding of torsion ground in place and knowing how to start on a diagonal, we are going to then move on to whole stitch and half stitch diamonds. So we're now adding a design element onto our basic ground. We'll be using 8 pairs of bobbins for this, each with about 20 inches wound on them. Again, you can use sewing thread on the smaller size, or you can use crochet thread for the bigger size pattern. It is up to you. Make sure that you have also watched the first one about whole stitch and half stitch, because that's going to be very important when we get to the diamonds. Okay, let's get started. The next pattern is learning diamonds. We're going to start the same way we did the last one, with temporary pins in each of these big circles. I'm going to start by just putting temporary pins in the first top 2. And we're starting this exactly the same way as we did the other one, with torsion ground in each of these holes. Now this one doesn't have the lines showing where the torsion ground goes, but it works the exact same, where you have the 2 from the left and the right above coming together and splitting. Cross, twist, pin, cross, twist. Now we can remove each of these temporary pins. Just put them in the next holes. And we're going to work down this side. Cross, twist, pin, cross, twist to close that pin. Release the temporary. Next, cross, twist, pin, cross, twist, release. Next one, just a little bit. Let's redo this hitch. Cross, twist, pin, cross, twist, release. Now we're going to need to work down the other side and complete every stitch on either side of this fan, or either side of this diamond, I mean, before we're ready to work the diamond. So let's come back over to this other side. We'll hang the 3 pairs on this side. Cross, twist, pin, cross, twist, release. Next one. Cross, twist, pin, cross, twist, release. Pin, cross, twist, pin, cross, whoops, this back. You can see your cross there, cross, twist, release. Make sure you're always looking at your threads a lot more than you're looking at your bobbins. The threads will tell you a lot better if what you're doing is right. Okay, now we have every stitch before this fan done, so we're going to start this. This fan is done very similar to how we did our beginning sample with cloth stitch and half stitch. This one right here, where we have the passives coming down and the worker going across. It's going to be worked in that same way, but we're going to do it in this diamond shape. So on each pinhole, so we'll start by working this first one, and then the worker is gonna come down here and follow these lines. Now on each pinhole, we're either bringing a pair of bobbins into the diamond, or when we get down to this side, we're taking pairs out. So on these side ones, we'll bring it in and take it out on that same pinhole. So I'll show you what I mean. We're doing this in cloth stitch. So we're going to cross, twist, cross, pin, cross, twist, cross. So that's our first cloth stitch. Now this yellow one is going to be our worker pair. And we're going to come down along this, follow the line, down to the next stitch. So we're bringing this one in from over here, and we're at the end of our pin here too, sorry. So to turn around, we always need to put a twist on our worker pair. So now we'll turn around and go back this way, across this one, and across this purple that's already part of our diamond. This purple is going to be coming straight down the middle. Now I'll go and bring this pair in from the side. Cross, twist, cross. Pin in between. Now we'll give it an extra twist on the side and work back to the right. Going across everything that we already have as part of our diamond. And then on the last one, we need to bring in another pair. Pin. Now this one we're done with. So it needs to go and work this stitch over here. When we're done with it, it's called throwing the pair out, and we're going to twist it before it enters the rest of the lace. And this can also help us to remember that if a pair is twisted, that we've already thrown it out and we need to not work it back in with the next pass. So now we'll keep going back to the left. On this side, we're going to do the same. We're going to bring the green in, extra twist on the worker pair, pin. Now we'll start working back across to the right, and this green one is going to be thrown out. So give it a twist and set it to the side. This yellow is using a lot, so we're just going to lengthen it a bit. We're going to work across all of our things. We're going to make sure we don't do this one. It already has a cross, so we know don't touch that. When you get to the end, we'll give our worker an extra twist. You can give the extra twist before or after you place your pin. It does not matter or make any difference at all. Just whenever it's easier for you to remember. Now coming off of this diamond, we need to have a pair coming out of this pinhole to go into this one. So we'll give that a twist, throw it out, keep working across. Same over here, twist. Pin. Back across it and then twist it to throw it out. Now we're on our last one. I'm going to do the same here. We're going to do cloth stitch, pin, cloth stitch, and twist both of them because we're throwing them both out to go work the ground on the outside of this diamond. So that's how we're going to work a cloth stitch diamond. We're going to practice it 2 more times, and then on this, after 3 cloth stitch diamonds, we're going to switch to a half stitch diamond. So I'm going to keep working. I'm going to do an extra twist on the side of this. The last pattern I just did single twist, and so for this one we're going to switch things up and do a double twist on that outside pair. Torsion ground is worked the same, just cross twist pin, cross twist, extra twist on that outside pair. Going cross twist, pin, cross twist, twist, outside. Now I almost started working this pinhole here, but I caught myself because this one right above it isn't done, so we need to go do that one next, which is going to be with these 2. Cross twist, pin, cross twist, pin, cross twist, lengthen this a bit, cross twist, pin, cross twist. Now we have this side of the diamond, the stitches leading up to the diamond ready to go. So let's get this side ready to go. We need to make sure we have 1, 2 twists on this outside pair. You can always check by untwisting and then retwisting the number of twists that you need if you're not sure. Cross twist, twist, pin, cross twist, pin, cross twist, cross, oops, I didn't add my extra twist on the outside edge. I find it easier to remember the extra twists if I do them right away. So I should just do that outside extra twist now. Cross twist, pin, cross twist, twist. Okay, now we have every stitch leading up to our diamond on either side done, and we're ready to do our diamond. So we'll start with cloth stitch, pin, cloth stitch. Now we're ready to follow the lines. So this red is going to be our worker pair now, and it will come down to this first pinhole. We'll bring in 1 pair, pin, make sure we have that extra twist before we come back the other way. Now we'll bring in 1 from this side. Twist on the outside, pin, and head back the other direction. Bring 1 in on the edge, And now that we're at that corner, you will also throw that one right back out. Throw it out and start working back across this way. I like to leave a little gap between the ones that are currently in my diamond and the ones that are out. Helps me to not go too far. Just use the ones that are in the diamond currently. Throw it out. So it's just like our beginning sample. We're just bringing pairs in and throwing them out to get the shape that we want. Section of cloth stitches can be a variety of shapes, and it's just a matter of paying attention to on the edge if something needs to come in or if something needs to go out. A pair needs to come in or go out. And twist both as they're leaving the cloth stitch. Okay, there is our second diamond. We have one twist on the south side edge, let's add two. We'll work the torsion on the torsion ground on either side. You can start with the torsion ground on the other side if you want. It doesn't matter which side you work first. Okay, there's that side done. Move all of that aside. And bring this side down. Extra twist on the outside. Not very consistent about remembering when I do it, so I just try to always check to make sure that everything has the correct number of twists. Coming into regular torsion ground, we should have one twist on each pair. So here we can see they have one twist. And that's why watching your threads is helpful, because it's a lot easier to see that you don't have a twist. Like if I forgot this twist here, looking at the threads, it's really easy to see that there's no twist. But if I was just looking at the bobbins, I might not notice that I'm missing my twist there. Twist, and this one has these two, 1, 2, cross twist, pin. Okay, now we're going to do our next cloth stitch. So again, we're doing cloth stitch, pin, cloth stitch. Now, this purple is the one that's going to follow this line. Purple is our worker pair for this diamond. cloth stitch, twist at the edge, work back across. Bring one in from the edge for this pinhole right here. Every pinhole either needs to have stuff coming in, or a pair coming in, or a pair coming out. So you can always just ask yourself when you get to the pinhole, do I need to add more pairs of bobbins, or do I need to reduce the number of pairs of bobbins? Is it getting bigger, or is it getting smaller? Now we're starting to get smaller again, so we're throwing things out. Twist and throw it out. Throw one out at that pin. Throw one out at that pin. Stitch. Cloth stitch. Twist both and throw them both out. And then we're going to do the torsion, and we're going to set up for our half stitch diamond. There are 7 diamonds, so you can do it how you want, but my intent was to do 3 cloth stitch, 3 half stitch, and then you choose what you feel like you need more practice on for here. And then down here we're going to practice doing them where the end of one is the beginning of the next. Sure, we've got our 2 twists on the outside. Double twist just makes the outside a little bit stronger. You might have noticed when you took the last sample off the pillow that it kind of curled. And that is because of lack of a strong straight edge. Really, you need an actual foot side to make strong lace. And we'll learn that in the next pattern. But for now we need to focus on practicing the basic stitches. And then we can add in things like a good foot side. My edge has 1 twist. Let's give it a second. Okay. All of that to the side. Now we'll come down, do the torsion on this side. There are a lot of great bookmark patterns that use these kinds of details that are probably prettier than this bookmark pattern. I didn't really design this with the intent of it being a pretty bookmark, but just with the intent of it being a really great way to practice and get good at the essential skills. Which will make it much easier to do patterns that are more intricate and pretty. Okay, oops. All right, we are going to start this next diamond, and it's going to be a half stitch diamond. So it's going to be worked in the exact same way that the other one was, just with half stitch, just as when we did this sample, it was worked the same, but with half stitch, and so we got a more open result. So I'll show you what I mean. So we're going to do half stitch, just cross twist, pin, cross twist. Now this first one is basically just torsion ground, but we're going to follow this line down to this next one, cross twist, pin, cross twist. Now here is where things are a little bit different. If we had been doing the cloth stitch, then this red one would be the one that goes back, and we would have the same worker working across the whole thing. But now the worker pair is going to be continually changing, and the pairs are going to get split up. These pairs are already split up. I'm not sure how that, hold on. Let's dial this back a little bit. So our pairs up until now should be together. To reverse your stitching, you just kind of watch the threads and you see if they're crossed, you uncross, and twist, then you untwist. Let's come back to just right here, where it seems like things went off a little bit. Cross, twist, pin, cross, twist, twist. There we go. So if your pattern has no half stitch in it, then having pairs of bobbins where they're all distinctly different and you have a way of seeing that the pairs of bobbins have stayed together can be helpful. But once we add in any half stitch, our pairs are going to get separated, and then you have to not pay attention to, you have to not get worried about your pairs looking the same and staying the same. Okay, let's come back to here. We did, I'll just start this over so you can see right from the beginning. Okay, first stitch at the top is half stitch, pin, half stitch. Coming down the line, bring a pair in, half stitch, pin, half stitch. Now we're going to move back across this way. We're doing half stitch, so now our pair, this is the point in the diamond where our pairs are going to be separated. So we're just doing half stitch, and then bring the next one in. Stitch, and we'll come back across this way. So orange started as worker pair here and things got split up, and now green, this is going to be the start of our working pair going across here. But after our first half stitch, it gets split up. Things with half stitch are kind of a little bit trickier just because of, it's a little bit harder to follow what's going on. But it's the exact same principles as doing it in cloth stitch. When you get to the edge, we'll close the pin, and now we're starting to get smaller, so we'll throw this one off. And it already has a twist, so we don't need to add an extra twist. So just set it off to the side so you make sure you don't work it again into this diamond. Half stitch your way back to the left, bring in a pair on the edge, if you know that the color is getting separated or something that's going to bother you, then you could just do the whole thing in the same color so that the pairs getting split up doesn't bother you as much. Okay, we're coming down smaller on this side, so this one will get thrown out, back, across, pin, close the pin and throw one out, back, across, pin, throw one out. And then the bottom is just going to be half stitch, pin, half stitch. So our pairs are all mixed up, which is fine. And we have this half stitch diamond. It looks different than the cloth stitch, but the principles are exactly the same. Let's do our little bit of torsion on the edge to get ready for the next one. Our pairs are going to stay mixed up for this. The very outside pairs, this purple over here and this yellow that never were part of the diamond, they are the only pairs that have stayed together. Now, this is why it's so important that you get used to watching your threads instead of your pairs of bobbins, because let's make sure we have that extra twist on that side. Because watching to make sure that your pairs of bobbins stay together isn't helpful anymore. Okay, let's see. All of this side is done. Let's move it to the edge and bring in this side. Two twists on the outside. On the outside. Okay, now we're ready to work this diamond. We've got our two starting pairs of bobbins to come into that first pinhole right there. Cross twist. Now we're going to follow that line down. Bringing them in from the edge, tossing them out. It starts getting smaller. Half stitch across, bring it in, and half stitch across. Going to the right now, bring in our very edge pair, and then throw a pair out. throw one out and work back to the right. There we go. That's the end of our second half stitch diamond. Just keep going. Any point in the video, you can always feel free to skip ahead, and I will have timestamps so that you can get to exactly what you need. Or you can work on your lace along with me. Now that I am a few inches from the start of my lace, I'm going to start taking pins from the back. I'm going to push down the very edge pins so that I don't take those out. I don't like to push them down all the way because then they're really hard to get out. But I just push them down enough so that it's easy for me to distinguish them from the others just by feel. Okay, just take one from the back, start using them here. Always a very exciting part of the lace to get to start taking pins out. You do not have to take any pins out from the back. You can do the whole thing and keep everything on pins. But if you have a limited number of pins, or if you're just, there's not really a reason to keep all of the pins in for the whole thing. I personally like to start seeing it come out, and then at the end it also means there's less pins to remove because you've been removing them as you go. Okay, we're ready to work our last half stitch fan. Half stitch, pin, half stitch. Bring in on the edge, half stitch, pin, half stitch. We're just going to come right across, give us some separation, half stitch, pin, come back across. Sometimes I go back and forth between taking them from the back and taking them from the pincushion. It doesn't really matter. I just kind of take them automatically from the pincushion without thinking about it. having a couple inches between where you're taking out and where you're putting in means that you won't be messing up the tension of the area where you're taking pins out, because it's too far back, and no matter how hard you pull on these threads, it's not going to impact all the way back there. Trim it out. Like this bottom part of the fan. Great, and now I'll do the torsion ground again. Just set this aside to help me remember that I can take pins from the back. Okay, for this last diamond, I want you to choose whatever you feel, whichever kind of diamond you feel like you need more practice on. I'm going to do another half stitch diamond because I feel that for me personally, that is the more confusing of the two. So that's what I'm going to do for this last one before we get to this section where they're all closer together. Working a piece in a whole bunch of different colors like this is pretty useful and looks pretty cool at the end. And it's fun to just be able to better follow where the threads are, how the threads are traveling through the lace. Sometimes it can be a little bit tricky when it's all one color. It can just help to kind of help you understand how the lace is working when you can see the path of each thread. So make sure that that one doesn't get brought in again. If you have a lot of bobbins on your pillow and you don't have the space to move them so far out of the way, you can use a pin, especially if you have a pin with a big head on the end of it. You can use a pin to separate them so that there's a physical boundary between that tells you don't use these ones. It's not as necessary with a piece this small with so few bobbins. Oh, something is not right. Okay, we've messed up because we need to, if we've thrown this out, then that means that we don't have our 2 pairs to work right here. So we're going to work backwards and see where we messed up. Gotta go slowly going backwards. Just watch the threads, undo them. Okay, and over there. Let's see. This one got thrown out over there. So I just moved one out of the way a little too soon. Which is why it can also be really helpful to pin things. Because then you know that you need to work all the way till you get to the pin. Okay, now this one can be thrown out. We'll move this pin to include it. Work back the other way. Throw it out and pin it. Now, we know that finished correctly because we have the 2 to complete that last pinhole. And if we bring in the rest of these, we can see that every pin has a pair coming off of it. If every pin does not have a pair coming off of it, then that means something went wrong somewhere. And you can back up and figure out what went wrong. Okay, let's do this last section of torsion. And then for this one, I'm going to show you how to do fans when there's no separation between them. With no separation between them, it's a good start to practicing once we start adding in a head side, which is often like the curved pretty edge of the lace. Often the head side has design elements like fans, and those are very similar to diamonds. And there is no space between them. So learning how to do the diamonds one right after each other without spaces is really important practice before doing patterns with a head side. None of these patterns that in this have a head side, they're all double straight edge bookmarks. But once you're comfortable with double straight edge, then you can move into having patterns with a head side as well. And that's where you get more traditional lace that you could add onto the edge of something or put on a handkerchief or a blouse. Okay, we're ready to do this first fan. I am, some of our pairs have gotten back together, like these greens and the oranges. It's kind of fun. I am going to do these first 2 in cloth stitch, and then 2 in half stitch, and then you can choose on the last one if you want it half stitch or full, or cloth stitch, full stitch. All right, so we're going to cross, twist, cross. It's going to be worked just like the previous fans that we've practiced. Twist on the edge and come back to the left. Cloth stitching through, watching the threads to make sure that we've got that over under pattern. Just cloth stitch and twist and throw it out. That yet, because we need to bring one in for this pinhole right here. Twist and throw it out. Something seems to be not quite right. That should be thrown out. Okay, we didn't. This pin right here doesn't have anything coming off of it. So we need to back up. Try that one again. Mistakes happen, and it's great to practice identifying what went wrong, where it went wrong, and how to fix it. Working backwards. Okay, right here is where this one should have been twisted and thrown out. Twist and throw it out. Twist in. Okay, now we are ending with the correct 2 pairs of bobbins right here at the end. Just cloth stitch, pin, cloth stitch. So now we have completed our first one, and we've completed the last pin of it. And that means we've also completed the first pin of our next diamond. Before we can work the rest of it, we need to work this little bit of torsion on the edges. that side's done, let's complete this side. Alright, first stitch is completed. Now we're ready to work down the side. Bringing in pairs. Working across. Bring a pair in from the edge. That's how we do it when there's the end of one is the beginning of the next. Just have to take a little break from the diamond to work the torsion ground coming into the diamond. Throw one out for that pin. Throwing one out for each pinhole this time. We have two ready to end, so that's just what we need. And we're not going to twist these coming off of this because they're not going into the ground. We only twist them coming out of the diamond and going into the ground. But if it's staying within the diamonds, like these two are, then they don't get twisted. Making sure these side ones are pushed out so that we don't accidentally pull them out. Okay, let's do this side. Okay, now we are going to do this one as a half stitch. We closed this pin with a whole stitch, so we're just going to take it back so that it's just closed with a half stitch. There's no cross there. Half stitch, pin, half stitch, we'll work back across, bringing in one pair on each side. Okay, do our torsion ground on the side here. Okay, so we already have the start of our diamond started, and because the last one's half stitch, we just closed the pin in half stitch, so that is just how we need it to be. Now we can work this diamond. These patterns are purposely very repetitive because I really believe strongly that getting good at these specific skills will make it so that you can learn anything else quite easily. For this last one, I think I'm going to do a cloth stitch diamond. So to close this pin, I'm going to close it in cloth stitch to be ready to work this next diamond. Okay, let's work this last diamond. So we'll get a little bit short. Okay, that's the last of our diamonds. So we're just gonna work this tiny bit of torsion ground down the side, and we will be done with this bookmark. I will show you another possibility of how to end bookmarks. Okay, for this one, what we're going to do is we're going to take and lengthen these a good bit. We're going to scissors. Okay, once we've lengthened them a good bit, we're going to cut them off one at a time, and we're going to tie a reef knot. So we're going to go right over left, pull it up, left over right, pull it up. We'll just work across all of our bobbins in that same way. Right over left, over right. Last one. Now that they're all done, we're just gonna give it a little haircut. You can also kind of follow the angle and give it an angled trim. But that's all I'm gonna do for this one. We'll remove all of our inner pins. You can let your lace sit overnight to help it keep its shape better, or you can just take it off when you finish. If you're leaving it overnight, then leave it with all of the edge pins in. I'm not going to leave it, so I'm just gonna kind of hold it down on the edge as I take the pins out. See it starting to twist up a little bit. That's because of the lack of a strong foot side. have it, we have our cloth stitch and half stitch diamonds. I personally like the look of the half stitch diamonds a little bit better than the cloth stitch. But both are really important to learn and are skills that will transmit into all kinds of other design elements like fans and trails and filling in other shapes. And if you have a pattern that says to use cloth stitch across the shape, you can always switch them out for each other. They're interchangeable, but it will give you a different look. So here it is on some white paper. Kind of see all of the diamonds that we did. It's a lot of great practice. The next one we'll be learning foot sides. That will help us to make a stronger piece of lace that doesn't curl up like this. And we'll be learning spiders, both cloth stitch and half stitch spiders. So join me in the next one. Thank you so much for watching this video about how to do diamonds. Up next, we're going to be doing spiders and a foot side. Let me know in the comments how this is going for you and any troubles that you're having. Okay, meet you in the next one. Bye.